I decided to watch every single Scream movie for the first time. And not only am I going to be giving my thoughts and hot takes on each movie, but I am going to be ranking the Scream franchise. Let's talk about it.
Shorty always asking for Bottega.
Scream 1, the one that started it all, the 1996 film. Off rip is going to get an unfair rating and judgment from me because I didn't watch this film until 20 years later and watched Scary Movie, the parody of this movie. It ruined everything for me and how I seen everything. I couldn't just see Dewey, I saw Dewey. But it also ruined the plot twist at the end because I automatically caught on to who the killers were. So that shock factor was just gone out of the window for me. On top of that, I just don't think this was a great film. I think the storyline and plot twists are elite, but I don't know if this was Drew Barrymore's first time ever acting, but it feels like it in the beginning scene.
Who's there? I'm calling the police.
And not only is it her, but everybody else's acting feels unnatural, unrealistic, and there's just way too many cringy, corny scenes for me to really say that, yeah, I really enjoyed watching this. Also just didn't understand why Sydney? If Sydney's mom is the reason that all of this started, why immediately kill Sydney's mom? But look at her daughter who had nothing to do with anything that happened and give her the worst imaginable life possible. I feel like a solid fix to this could have been Sydney's mom possibly just dying of natural causes before the Loomis family was able to get their hands on her. And because of this unused rage, they, well, then look at the daughter, Sydney, and say, hey, because we tried to get it back in blood and your mom's already gone, we're just gonna put you in her spot. And you're gonna have to be at fault for her sins. But cool, we'll let it slide because the next year, 1997, Scream 2. And Scream 2, honestly, feels like Scream 1 with way better execution. This is where I think they start to figure out how to balance better social commentary, humor, acting, and how to throw a crazy plot twist in there. That gave me the biggest shock value I've watched the entire franchise. The local woman? Scream 2, like, I'm not even joking when I say that it literally feels like Scream 1 just done better. And this is also where I think the characters in the franchise and in the movie become a lot more likable. Of course, I expect main characters to have a certain level of plot armor, but I ain't never seen this level. The way that Gail Withers is in the same predicaments and situations as everybody else and is able to just get out of these situations, and the way that Dewey is able to get pieced up multiple times and only leave with a limp is some of the greatest plot armor I've ever seen. Not only that, I love how they make a parody of themselves within the movie. And my brain isn't as ruined by watching Scary Movie first because I had no idea how this was going to end. And one thing I will say about this franchise, they know how to make a good plot twist. The local woman? We are now in the year 2000. We are going to Scream 3. This is honestly where my frustration starts to slowly creep in with this franchise. And it's because by this point, Billy done already killed Cindy's mom for being a 304. Billy's mom then spent back and tried to get her son's get back because Cindy's mom was a 304. And by this point, I'm like, we're done with people killing behind Sydney's mom just to find out, no, Sydney's mom hoish ways is even more generational than we could
even fathom.
Not only do we get more of a backstory with how her mom was really moving back in the day, nigga, we start to uncover that Sydney's mom may be one of the greatest hoes
of all time.
Bro, Sydney's mom not only created an affair, but she created a freaking series of serial killers. Nigga, she had the whole family lineage dying behind this shit. I don't know too many hoes making that level of impact. Niggas is willing to die behind that cooch. By the time we get to the third movie, I understand that this is supposed to bring everything together, but damn, I got tired of hearing about how much of a hoe she was. Anywho, pretty good plot twist. You get good humor, get the suspense, and they blend all of that with social commentary throughout the film. You know, the infamous lines, the horror movies made me do it.
I'm gonna blame the movies.
Showcasing how much as a society we've popularized and become desensitized to just seeing violence. We hear it in music, we see it on the big screens, and we no longer carry as much empathy when it comes to seeing a human being lose their life. And not only because we're seeing and hearing violence literally everywhere, in everything, it's always going to be something that's in the back of your mind, so that when you finally reach your breaking point, the only thing that you're going to be thinking about is more violence.
The effects of cinema violence on society.
I do think you have a couple stale moments throughout the film, but overall cool movie. Out of every Scream movie that I've watched, this killer's motive made the most sense out of everybody. Well, Scream 3 and Scream 2 made the most sense when it came to the killer's motives, but I just never understood in the first Scream how, you know what, I'm gonna kill the mom and I'm just gonna make the daughter suffer for vibes. Now we fast forward over a decade later and we have Scream 4. 2011 film. Let's just cut to the chase. Let's get the bullshit out of the way. You can tell that this is going to be a different type of film compared to the first three, just based off how it looks. Now you could also argue that this is a different decade, but the first three had this cool 90s grainy aesthetic towards it. That just the cherry on the top. And for whatever reason, they had this weird Young and the Restless filter on the camera. But outside of the first one, this honestly was one of the worst Screams. Because not only do I think this just overall was just less entertaining, the ending makes this one of the worst ever simply because, nigga, the killer's motive made no sense. Scream 4 is honestly when I think to myself, oh, y'all was just getting a little lazy. Y'all just didn't care about doing certain things to make this a great film. Because not only throughout the film, the killers that they choose don't really make much sense as to why they would do it, but once they give their bullshit reason, it makes it make even less sense than before. The cousin being jealous of the attention that Sydney was getting in the family and the spotlight being on her sounds very similar to the reasoning behind Scream 3, and even before that, the same reasoning as to why Cotton felt the type of way. So not only does the other killer have the same reused line of, I'm just obsessed with the films, I'm obsessed with the horror films, and that's what made me do it because of the violence that I was seeing. We go to the person that's in the family that's supposed to have the best reason behind it. It's just a fucking redo of the other killers before her. And it begins to put more of a spotlight on this franchise that they are genuinely rinsing and repeating. Not only throughout the first 4 films are we going to continuously state the same reasons of social commentary about us seeing violence in society, but we're going to give you a new killer and just give them basically the same reasons. It gets old very fast. It gets stale very fast. Scream 4 legit feels like they made the beginning of the movie, the middle of the movie, and said, oh, we don't have an ending yet and don't know who the killers are gonna be, so we're just going to pick whoever is the least suspectable person. Oh, the cousin and the nerdy guy? Yeah, we're gonna make them the 2 killers and we're just gonna give them whatever bullshit reason as to why they did it. I said I need something fresh, something new, and then they hit us with Jenna Ortega in 2022. 10 years later, the new era of Scream. Honestly, didn't hate this film until literally the very end, when they revealed the worst and sorriest excuse as to why they became serial killers. This was supposed to be the new era mixed with the old nostalgia of familiar faces coming in. And outside of the ending, honestly, the execution of the beginning and middle part of this film isn't bad. It's just literally the killer's reasoning is so dumb and baffling that I think it ruins the entire film. And the only slack that I would give them for this lazy excuse for their reasoning and motive is that they give you little hints and dabs of their motive throughout the film instead of just piling it all on you at the end, which is something that they don't do in the other films. They showcase that Richie is a fan of the Stab films. They showcase that the best friend is low-key little obsessive, and that the overall consensus of the Stab 8 parody of Scream within the film was generally hated by everybody, which is something that I appreciate because unlike the previous one, there was no hint or even sign that the cousin would have done something like this or that she had traits of this. But their literal reasoning for going on a killing spree is because they were fanatics of violent horror movies and that they hated Stab 8 and wanted to redo it in their own way.
Corny, lame, boo, tomato, 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 I'm throwing tomatoes.
But Scream 5, although the ending is bad, isn't the worst part of this franchise because it does introduce us not only to Jenna Ortega, but the daughter of Billy Loomis? That's kind of fire. But you're gonna get another point taken away because you killed Dewey? I will never forgive you for that. Now, in a continuation of this new era of Scream, we have Scream 6, 2023. And this honestly surprised me because I think visually, this is probably one of the better films out of the franchise. But less social commentary and way less humor. But overall, still an entertaining film. And although I do have this more toward the top of the list, there's really nothing that stands out or is too special about this film. And the ending and plot twist that they give us at the end was cool, but the whole family lineage trying to get their get back, and this is also where I start to question what type of humans are we really dealing with. Not only did my boy Dewey before he died get stabbed like 20 times and only walk away with a limp, not only does Gail, Dewey, and the main character have some of the greatest plot armor I've ever seen, but Chad was getting stabbed by two people on both sides of him multiple times and was still throwing up the foes at the end of the movie. These niggas can't die. But the killer's reasoning, or the killers, this is the first time we've ever had 3 killers. Reasoning is that they trying to get their get back for Richie in the previous film. Now, it doesn't really make sense to me that they're trying to get their get back for a nigga who was clearly mentally unstable and body count was going through the roof, especially since Sam and everybody else was only defending themselves. But sure, cool. You ask me, my honest opinion, which is something that they were alluding to in the film, I think Kirby should have been the killer. That would have been a plot twist of hell, and her reasoning would have also been fire and made sense. Hear me out. We know what Kirby had to go through and what she had to do to survive in Scream 4. We get her back in Scream 6, and we start to realize that she is still trying to recover from the things that she had to live. And she's showcasing signs of PTSD and trauma. She sees and hears all of the rumors going on about Sam, Billy Loomis's daughter, and that there is another killing spree on the rise, listens to the narrative that Sam is the real killer who did all of these heinous things, and says to herself, there's no way that I'm about to relive having to deal with another Ghostface, and puts things into her own hands. I don't know if I need to be on the payroll for Scream 8, but you can't tell me that's not a fire reasoning and a great plot twist. But the killers and reasoning that we get is cool. There's nothing that I feel like is above and beyond or outstanding when it comes to this film, but they do everything right. So I decided not to rank each film just because I didn't want this video to be mad long. So I'm going to turn this into like a 3-part series. I'm going to do a solo review of Scream 7 when I go watch it and go more in depth with how I actually feel about the franchise. The other part is going to be me solely ranking the films from worst to best, 1 through 7. I got a lot more content coming out soon. Until then, peace.